music that's been destined for this time and age, bringing the message with solutions that prepares a way. While we're still human, moving closer towards the judgment day, they have invaded, grooming sheeple as they set the stage. I fear no evil, I got Jesus my deliverer. I've been forgiven, saved, no longer a prisoner. I've been redeemed, made, I'm an alien, a visitor. That's right, I'm freed, I'm remade with the signature. Got a new vision, I've been saved because his son is risen. It's a decision that was made to send me on this mission, exposing lies and proclaiming truth without no fear. We see the signs of the times and we shout it clear. Unfolding prophecy that's obviously happening, erupting rapidly, it's absolutely baffling. We cannot panic even if they plan a whole pandemic. We knew eugenics was a scam to hybridize genetics. Needed a lie to unite the world to all obey. They've always tried throughout time to change our DNA, paving the way for the Antichrist and one world government with sheeple lining up to take the mark. They're loving it. What in the world could be happening when everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking? Mind control like the mannequins. Is this a sign of the times? Revelation unraveling? What in the world could be happening when everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking? Mind control like the mannequins. Is this a sign of the times? Revelation unraveling? The truth is exclusive, it's not relative, it's absolute. It's undisputed, it's been proven, there's no substitute. Conclusive facts are now offensive in our current times. You'll get attacked if you attempt to shift a paradigm. You can't relax enough to share your mind or even have a thought. You might get bullied by the left, acting like robots. Automatons that respond like they're human pawns. Virtue signaling their masks toward Babylon. In every area we're seeing mass hysteria, and not just in America but everywhere. We're staring in the face of Armageddon as we're heading towards apocalyptic waters that we're treading toward America's dead end, producing misanthropic modern day demonic like embodiments, modifying their minds, their bodies and environments, censoring anything that's offensive into the narrative, threatening anybody whose actions are not affirmative. So what's the real message we're seeing from these progressives? If you don't agree with them, then they get violent and aggressive. Essentially what they're doing is making people submissive, till eventually beliefs and opinions won't be permitted. What in the world could be happening when everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking? Mind control like the mannequins. Is this a sign of the times? Revelation unraveling? What in the world could be happening when everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking? Mind control like the mannequins. Is this a sign of the times? Revelation unraveling? Open your eyes, hear the warning call. The great divide on both sides and the lies told big and small. But unified we will never fall. With Jesus Christ on our side, we're like watchmen on the wall. His word was given as pre-written future history, and can be counted on with confidence and certainty. Not poetry or allegory in its own category. Absolutely, positively, it's his story. For everything there is a season. There comes a time to serve a purpose that is planned out for a reason. When evil needs to be defeated, we must unite and come together and even fight if it be needed. Ready for anything, prepared for coming prophecy. It's like we're living in the movie Idiocracy. No second guessing, I got weapons, I got ammunition. Both in the spiritual and physical, I have a mission. Protect my faith and my family from the opposition. I'm not afraid to take a stand and make a split decision. I know my rights, I know the law, so don't you tread on me. Won't turn my cheek if you try to take my liberty. What in the world could be happening when everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking? Mind control like the mannequins. Is this a sign of the times? Revelation unraveling? What in the world could be happening when everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking? Mind control like the mannequins. Is this a sign of the times? Revelation unraveling?
Oh, hello everybody. I think that I've got the echo. I think I stopped the echo. All right, welcome. It's Monday night, and it's an unusual night for NPC and I to get together, but we were researching some stuff, and things click for him like they used to click for me, and it's fun to watch and listen to. So say hello, Mr. NPC, if you are in the house.
Hey guys, and thanks for joining us. There's a lunar eclipse this day, so we wanted to do a special update, if you will, on some things. And we had several other stories to share, so yep, thank you for being here for this special episode of the Black Cube,
The Black Cube
or
Stargate.
whatever it's called.
I actually gave it two
But it's,
titles. I titled it the Tetragrammatron Special, also the Black Cube Stargate. So,
oh, well, thank you. I'm still trying to get some things set up, so I'm not like perfectly ready, but I'm almost ready.
okay, well, I'll talk
And
for a minute if you want. The other day um, I was watching a video by TMF Productions, which I'll even link to if anybody wants to subscribe to him. He's a good guy. I think he's got good head on his shoulders for the most part. He gets a little Q angry, but Q people are frustrating. But he showed that this some stuff about the DARPA espresso machine. That'll be kind of fun. We'll talk about. So I had to send that to NPC, and as soon as I did, you, NPC started sending me back some articles based on some of this stuff about DARPA, the money that they're giving to Moderna, all this stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. I won't get too deep into it. Just the overview of what we're going to talk about, how DARPA is so behind this. And if anybody remembers, DARPA is also the one that started LifeLog, which is the actual thing that began Facebook. It was a program, a government program running, and then the day that they shut down LifeLog was the day that Facebook was introduced to the world. So let's not forget
big,
their part to play in that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, big coincidence, kind of like when Bill Gates stepped down from Microsoft on Friday the 13th back in
Oh,
March.
that's right. I didn't realize it was Friday the 13th. Because he's so busy with his philanthropy. So then it got us talking about the black cube. It got us talking about Stargate a little bit, and then you guys got to hear this. This is amazing. NPC had never seen the Goonies until today, if you can believe it. He's never
And I
seen it.
still only saw like just probably the last half hour of it, maybe. I
Hmm.
was captivated. I even got up and took pictures of the TV screen, and I was at the Mexican restaurant. And whew, I tell you what, I was marveling at all the references to things in it. It was a little bit overwhelming, honestly. I still need to go through it. You know, it probably deserves me watching it at least once and
We
taking notes. But
we should do that, and then we could do some trivia from it. For the time that when we finally do trivia night.
yeah, but I do have some things to share from that movie tonight because I did manage to get a little bit gathered together, and I'm getting one more reference here, and then I'll be ready with the. See, I got some from Marvel. Again, some of these movies I have not seen, so I miss all this stuff until I just run across it. So, yeah, yeah, tonight we'll have some trivia stuff too. So one of them is this Captain Marvel movie.
Hmm.
That's kind of what started this whole thing off. Because yeah, I hadn't seen it yet. So in this movie, there's this a cat that's known as a flurkin. Have you seen this movie?
No, but you sent me
Yeah.
like the
Okay.
imagery of it, so I could.
Yeah, and this cat apparently is some type of alien creature that's a pet of Miss Marvel. And so, you know, there's this object that everybody's after, right? It's called the Tesseract. Well, we've kind of mentioned that on this show before in prior episodes. That's considered the four-letter name of God. And and so everybody's after this, namely Loki, who would be a giant, right? Well, he's
Hmm.
actually half giant, half god in this case, in this lore. And see, he's after the this tesseract, which is actually a cross folded down into itself. It actually creates a cube. So if you unfold the three-dimensional cube, it's actually four dimensions, which goes into time and space. So when Jesus calls himself the Alpha and the Omega, he literally is born out of the cube. So, okay, so yeah, and the menorah and all the stuff ties together. So anyway, I'm getting something together here. I got to get this cat. Let me see, Miss or some Marvel.
I just showed everybody what you sent me.
Oh, okay, that makes things so much easier.
I just showed everybody the cat grabbing it out with its weird tentacles and then now puking it up on the desk.
Yeah, see, so the cube there is what he's barfing up. And there was another one to go with that, like when they're first, like when she meets them, she's got a lunch pail with the Tesseract inside of it. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'll arm wrestle you for the Tesseract. And which is kind of interesting because that's, to me, was a reference of being a strong man, right? Because it makes that reference about, eating meat and becoming a strong man. And here, I'm going to close that. Now I can. Okay, I'll be ready to share my screen here in a moment. And so then the cat grabs it with, he has many mouths, as it were, that reach out and grab the Tesseract and, pull it in. But apparently this cat has some special abilities,
Really?
Yeah, I guess he's got the like pocket dimensions or something inside of him. And so each of his stomachs can, I don't know, somehow, some way. It was just like the best place to hide this thing was inside some pocket dimension inside this cat. So it sounds crazy and weird, but at the same time, we know that there's these references to the Lion of Judah also being on the cross, so, and here's a cat. So, and another thing is that the name Goose, which is what they call the cat, that is affiliated with Saturn also, which is of the cube.
Yes.
So it was really like overwhelmed me when I saw this gif of the cat just puking up this cube and thinking, what is going on here? So
Jeffrey Lane says Captain Marvel fought the Skulls in the movie. The Skulls are a group of shapeshifters.
Yeah.
And the Tesseract was one of the gems in the Infinity Gauntlet.
It was just one of them, huh?
I don't follow any of the Marvel stuff, but might be interesting. I heard that.
Yeah,
I just heard it's all going downhill because it's all females nowadays.
Oh well, that's just your, leftist stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I do have a tab up on Nick Fury, who we'll kind of read about real quick, and then let me pull one up.
Oh, are we sharing? Are you ready? No, you're not.
Here in a moment, yeah. Well, wait, okay. Did you show the? They used the Tesseract to open up the Stargate too. So did you have that one?
Oh, let's see. I see a picture of Stargate opening, or imagery, not picture, video.
Yeah, that's okay. The one. So let me show that essentially, this Tetragrammatron, which is the 4-letter name of God.
Yes,
in this case, we've mentioned this before as being Yad-He Vav-He, otherwise known as Yahweh. So, here I found the picture I was looking for. Ink. Mostly ready now. Okay, so that name is supposed to then open a Stargate, and so, we know what the name of Babylon means, right? You're aware of that?
What does the name Babylon mean?
God, Gate of God.
Ooh, that'd be a good trivia.
Yeah, God's Gate.
God's Gate. Somebody says, with all this cat talk, why haven't we heard a meow?
Meow. It'll happen intermittently.
When you least expect it.
Yeah. So, be on your guard for the flirkin that lurks. So, anyway, one other thing about this is that, so we got pocket dimensions, alpha, omega, time, the cube unfolding to create the cross, being able to go into this hyperspace, as it were. It really starts to make sense how God really is in control of everything if he literally controls time and can just at will adjust anything to his liking, apparently. So I think that, when we experience these weird synchronicities, as it were, in our own lives, because it happens to me frequently, I think that depending on how in tune we are or observant, these types of things manifest around us. And maybe that's how God talks to us, but we're supposed to test the spirits, right? So I'm assuming that all spirits can probably do this type of thing, but we always need to test them somehow. So I don't know. That's just one of the gleanings I've gotten from this. But I want to go into this a little bit, and so I can share my screen here, and I didn't have a lot of time to actually put this together in a very coherent manner, so I do
You guys
apologize.
can blame me. It was my idea that we would go sooner than Friday, but every time he says that he's not put together, he does just fine.
Well, even so, I mean, I like to do a good job, and I know these could be better, just have more time. But otherwise, the information wouldn't get out there at all, maybe, if I didn't be good enough. So anyway, oh yeah, so bear with me that I haven't watched these movies. If you guys can throw stuff out in the chat to help illuminate things, like you did with the Infinity Gauntlet, for instance, that kind of stuff helps me understand things a little bit better sometimes. So, did it share yet?
Yep, I can see the pre-numeral lunar eclipse. And real quick, I'll also say Jeffrey's got a lot of information. So Jeffrey, I'm not going to be able to keep reading these, but the Tesseract was originally owned by Odin in his war room in the movie. His adopted son Loki took it to invade Earth in the first Avengers movie. But yes, we can see your
so I have
image.
seen that, and in fact, he had what was called the Destroyer in that room too, I think, and that was set loose to go recover the Tesseract, this thing of great power. Wow, this is incredible. Anyway, I'll have to take some time to put all that together in the future. But anyway, here's this penumbral lunar eclipse that is occurring. It was basically last night and then today. So for us, it's tonight, but it's already night, elsewhere. It was last night for them. Okay, so let me read this a little bit. This is the last penumbral lunar eclipse of 2020. So I'm going to share a link with you guys. Here we go. Oh, wait. There it goes. All right. This is the last penumbral lunar eclipse of 2020. Residents of North and South America, Australia, and parts of Asia saw about 82% of the full moon turn a shade darker during the maximum phase of this eclipse. So, if you were to sit here and watch this is basically how it goes. This is supposed to be when it hits a maximum eclipse right there. And so if it just reverses it from this point on. So that's what happened last night. And then so here's a map showing who got to see it. So it's mostly us. And then there's going to be a solar eclipse next month. And so I have I was going to show on the menorah where the blood moons and the eclipses and such, where they all fit here.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where the dates all fit yet, but I'm working on that too. But anyway, this eclipse is lunar, and we see it from here. The next one is solar, and that's going to be visible right here on the southern tip. And these are about less than a month apart. And this is supposed to bookend the solar eclipse that's coming. Is supposed to, be a pair, like halfway between the pair of eclipses that are going to cross. So we talked about that a little bit last time. So there's the one in from August 21st, 2017, and then there'll be the one April 8th, 2024. So next month on the 14th. That eclipse that'll be visible here on the southern tip of South America, that one will be in between. So at that point, we'll be about 3 years in to the Revelation 12 fulfillment. And so we'll still have like the half, let me see, from December, January, February, March. Yeah, it's going to be just about right. So from this eclipse next month, it'll be just about 5 months then to spring, which will be the 3.5 year, 1260-day mark from Revelation 12:1. So I do understand that there are some people that have a different timeline, and I'm cool with that. I haven't even got into that video yet, so I'm not trying to say that they're not correct. But that was, that was about Jerusalem in particular. However, I do like to point out that with what we do know about that Revelation 12 sign, this is falling in line with some other things. So what each of those represent, he's conveniently marked the Revelation 12 eclipse right here for us. So that's very helpful, although it doesn't help much to not have the others. But what we can discern from this gave us a key here. So blood moon, or otherwise known as a full lunar eclipse, he has them stationed at different intervals here. So these each represent an almond blossom on the menorah. Okay, so each arm has 3 on both sides. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and then 19, 20, 21, 22. So that's 22 nodes then, which would technically be 22 almond blossoms. And so, as you can see here, this is your top, or your central part of the cross. And then you could pick any one of these and say, here's your other parts of the cross. But there was only 3 required feast days, as I mentioned before. So I guess if you took this one off and this one off, you would be left with 1, 2, 3 yods or flames. So this would be your Day of Atonement, Shavuot, and then Passover. And then so you can see how the cross itself is representative of the menorah, which only 1/2 of it was fulfilled with the death of Christ, for he was the sacrifice required for each of these. They had blood sacrifices for some of these things, like on the Day of Atonement, like we've mentioned before. Here it's saying 22 cubits also. It just so happens there's 22 nodes, and then it's saying that the ark is 22 cubits. So I don't know if that relates to the thing we're going to be getting in here later with the 6x6x6 thing. But the tesseract itself is supposed to have some type of dimensions associated with it, like a cube. And so we're going to see how they're kind of counterfeiting that now. And it really does seem to be the mark of the beast. But anyway, before I get off this topic, I do want to mention he labels them further up here. But as you can see, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. And I'm not sure what some of these words mean, but he's assigned the 7 spirits of Yahweh is what he's assigned to the tops of these here. So I guess if you only had 3 of these required, spirit would be Pentecost, of course. And so you have to have fear in the Lord before you can have knowledge in the Lord and in the Spirit. So I guess these would be the 3 required ones. Or it would be wisdom, understanding, wisdom, and spirit, which, interestingly enough, on the Tree of Life, those would be the top 3 Sephirot. That would be Chokmah, Benah, and Keter, which some consider the Trinity. It would be like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, which again goes back to this concept of Trinity inside of our head. They say that the thymus, pituitary, and pineal, that once activated, I guess, if you want to use that word, basically you've created your temple, and you can inhabit a spirit. And that's the thing. I think that these Hollywood folks are keeping that kind of stuff from us, and they're using it to inhabit devils or something, and then cloud ours to the point we can't even talk to God. So,
which is why they introduced yoga for sure into the Christian religions because you're
because
summoning
if you aren't,
Kundalini spirits and things like that.
yeah, which I think if you were reading the Word of God and stuff, it would probably be an entirely different experience, you know, because it is your temple after all. However, that's the thing. That stuff doesn't come packaged that way, and so I think it's very dangerous in that context. Yeah. Um, but anyway, I want to get into this more as we approach Hanukkah. So I'm going to work on trying to understand this a little bit more. This guy, Leland Jones, has done some great videos, and he's put together some great graphics.
Oh yeah, I did watch the one you sent me, and he was talking about Hanukkah being a battle against the beast. So yeah,
Yeah,
that will
and
be
that's
very
why I'm
interesting
covering
to
it
learn more
so.
about.
Yeah, that's why it's so important because this holiday is actually the day that on a couple of different occasions that they were chased into the hills, and so we talked about Elijah last Friday, having been chased by Jezebel, the beast, the horror upon the beast rather, and so she wants her children to steal the vineyard, right? So that's kind of what we're seeing here too, except in slightly different form. And so that'll be the 3-year mark, just short of 3.5 years, which will come up in spring. And they plan to have everybody vaccinated by that date. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. If it weren't for the times that we're living in now, I always wanted to kind of write off the fact that the third temple sits like right here. But,
In Sao Paulo,
it is there. Yeah,
Brazil.
it is there.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't really ignore the fact that it stands where it should not, which is part of prophecy. So, not to mention they built it at 4 times the dimensions that it was required in the first place. So I'm sure there's something significant there. So maybe I can do a little bit of a deeper dive in it. But the eclipse we're going to have next month is going to cross right here. This is the path of totality through here. But, right here's the third temple. So I look for them to probably do some sacrifices here or something like that. I mean, they've been doing them over here in Jerusalem anyway, and they've been building temporary altars. Leland did a great video where apparently they left a brick from the altar just laying there on the ground, I guess, so the people could see it. It's kind of strange. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, it's there, and he was rolling it around and showing it. He said it's some type of porous concrete where they apparently stack these stones up and just to make an altar on the spot. So that just goes to show, and they're treating this in a very tabernacle fashion where they could just throw it up, do the sacrifice, and they're out, and you don't even know that they did it, So that said, we do have a temple standing here where it should not. So I urge everybody to keep their eyes on Sao Paulo, especially in the next month and a half, because even though we are the temple and this vaccine will make us desolate, I still think we're going to see some type of, like ritual where they do it on the world stage. Obviously we're already a part of that too. But what I mean is, I think we'll see like the sacrifice of some type of animal or something like that. Which
Not necessarily
incidentally,
the red heifer, or
yeah. Well, that's the thing. The red heifer would be for the Day of Atonement.
okay.
Which has
so we're
passed.
too late for that. Yep, got it.
Well,
for this
allegedly.
year. For this year.
Who knows?
They could just change it. You know how the Jews change everything, and as far as their religion is concerned anymore.
Well, if they hold to this, they should wait till the fall. But, again. So anyway, keep your eyes peeled on this. Now, from what I can gather, the folks here are not really that close with the people here, which I honestly find that hard to believe.
Wait, sorry, the folks here, where?
The folks here in Brazil.
Oh, okay. Are not.
Yeah, they built that temple apparently without it wasn't necessarily approved.
Okay,
Or there's
I
some
see.
people that don't want to support it. Let's just put it that
Gotcha.
way. I've tried to spend some time looking into it, and so I don't know if it's truly like sanctioned by like Jerusalem or the Sanhedrin or who. I don't know who really has their hands in it, but it is there, and there's a huge Masonic presence here too in this area. So it really doesn't surprise me that they built a temple, but I'm a little bit surprised that they are trying to make it the house of prayer. And that's the thing about it. It's a universal house of prayer, which that again seems to fly in the face of what Yahweh would like. So anyway, I didn't plan to cover that a whole lot. I just wanted to mention it because this is where the country it's going to be passing through. So maybe we should pay attention to that. That's the reason I brought that up.
Noted.
And the thing is, the Hiram Abiff lore, the people that killed him, do you know what they were wanting from him?
Wait, who is that?
Hiram Abiff from the Masonic legends. Do you know?
Oh, no, I don't know this.
Well, they wanted the word, which essentially would be your Tetragrammatron. So they all wanted the word from him, and he wouldn't disclose it to them because they were undeserving, of course. And so they slayed him, and then it was lost. So anyway, just a little background on how this actually connects to what we're talking about tonight, a little bit. Okay. Now, this is what would be used in the temple. And so we're not only going to talk about the menorah as Hanukkah approaches, but we're going to talk about the other things they used in the temple also. And the reason that's kind of important is because Nebuchadnezzar had used these very same vessels that were in the temple when he had his party. And so if you remember, many tekel, parson, I think is how you say it. It means you've been weighed and measured and found wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when the hand appeared and wrote the message on the wall, and nobody could read it.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about as Hanukkah approaches. We're going to talk about all the different things required for the temple, the rituals, how they all connect back to the other feast days, how this connects to the cross, and pretty much just going to try to tie a lot of the things together that we've been talking about over time. And so, more to the point here, they're trying to make our temple desolate, folks. And, I understand they still got to do rituals and stuff to meet whatever spiritual requirements they might have. But here's exactly what they're planning to do. So Moderna is getting some additional funding from DARPA. I'm sure if we dug deep enough, we'd find some BARDA ties here too, because that's the funding mechanism.
Well, didn't
they've been using.
Didn't the
Go
Whitney
ahead.
Webb article bring that up?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Whitney in a while.
You sent it to me. It was
Oh,
from earlier.
I don't think I've gotten to read it yet.
It was from earlier in the year, but I can't. We'll have to pull it up if you want.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't one from tonight.
No, you did send it with
okay.
this stuff, but her article was from earlier in the year.
Oh, okay. I must have not noticed that it was
Hold
her
on,
that wrote
I'm gonna
it.
look real quick.
Right here. That's it. Right here.
Oh,
this
you
is
have it already. Okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I sent that to you. I didn't notice it was her, rather.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and start with that one then. So, as Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine takes the lead, the issue of gene editing vaccines. So, this is going to go into depth here about the actual mRNA 1273. I think this is the one that Moderna is using, and AstraZeneca probably has a different patent. So let's see what she says here. More and more frequently, government officials, political pundits, and self-appointed global health experts like billionaire Bill Gates have been instructing the public that mass gatherings and any semblance of, quote, normalcy will not return until a vaccine for the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, is created and subsequently distributed to the masses. In recent weeks, it has been
it has quickly become apparent that the leading COVID-19 vaccine candidate is the messenger RNA vaccine being developed by Boston-based Moderna. Today, Moderna announced that its vaccine candidate, named mRNA-1273, appeared to produce an immune response in 8 people who received it. Moderna's response is odd given that the study in question is focused on safety and is actually not designed to measure effectiveness of the vaccine. According to a report in Time, notably, none of the study's findings on the vaccine safety were reported, aside from claims it was generally safe. It is also that's comforting. It is also worth noting that this safety-focused study only began in March, and thus to date represents only an examination of the vaccine's effects in the very short term. Again, part of this Operation Warp Speed thing is to get the approval done more quickly, right? So yeah, March, it's not even been a year yet. Major media outlets in multiple countries ran with headlines trumpeting that Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine shows promising early results and has presented encouraging early signs because of its purported ability to produce COVID-19 antibodies in humans. In addition, these media reports failed to raise other simple yet necessary questions, such as how a sample size of only 8 people can translate into scientific findings of any real significance without further testing involving large sample sizes. They also failed to note that the study in question is not even finished, as a U.S. government press release noted that the findings in question are merely interim results. So, yeah, we're taking... not we are taking, but they want us to take something that this is absurd. In addition, the study is being led by the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID. Itself is headed by Dr. Anthony Fauci. Well, what do you know? Who is the key figure in the U.S. government's coronavirus response. Wow. So I'm not going to continue reading
hold
this.
on. You want to go down? There's a part where she gets onto Barda at some point.
Oh, cool. Okay.
See, down there.
Sorry, I hadn't previewed all of these. I grabbed a lot.
So she talks about DARPA, that they've received millions from DARPA, who's also received millions from Bill and Melinda Gates, and then go down a couple more paragraphs, and it says, in addition to support from the FDA. Oh,
I found it.
I lost it.
Is it like Zach's statements?
No, back up. I was just reading it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
You scrolled down too far.
I didn't realize. Sorry about that.
Okay. There it is.
We go.
Oh, there's gone. Gone again. Okay, we're at the
top.
You're at the top of the article. Okay, it says, in addition to support from the FDA, Moderna has also received considerable U.S. Whoa, where'd it go? Stop. Whatever you're doing, stop.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not.
In addition to
there must
support
be a
from
lag
the
or something.
FDA, Moderna has also received considerable U.S. government funding, $438 million from BARDA. Moderna. So she brings it up, and then she also connects DARPA to it. So anyway, you said you wouldn't be surprised to see BARDA somehow involved. There it is. We already knew they were getting all that money from BARDA, or we knew something we had talked about it at one point. But we're now seeing this new stuff talking about how much money DARPA is giving to it. Well, she was talking about this back in May. Of course, she's always ahead of the game, that one.
Oh yeah, it's hard to even stay on top of this stuff. If it weren't for Whitney, just think of how much of this would be unknown. She herself has done an incredible amount of work. I doubt she sleeps much.
Right.
And she can't. I mean, she knows so much about this stuff.
Anyway, that's really what I wanted to get to. And yes, people can read the rest of the article of what the guy says in his TED Talk and everything. But mostly, she connects DARPA to Moderna and BARDA.
And then this one is again on DARPA. So some of that money that BARDA is giving them, apparently, DARPA's then giving back to Moderna. I don't know how this is working exactly, but here's what they're doing with it. Moderna is getting additional aid from the U.S. government to make its medicines in a mobile factory. So As the coronavirus pandemic continues into its 7th month, Moderna Incorporated has been at the forefront of it, testing a potential vaccine for the deadly virus. Now, the Cambridge, Massachusetts-based biotech is getting additional aid from the U.S. government to make its medicines in a mobile factory. On Thursday, the company announced a grant from the Defense Advanced Research Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency of up to $56 million to fund the development of a mobile manufacturing prototype designed to speed up the vaccine and therapeutic production. So, of course, notice their stock went up again. We've covered that before, too, every time they get an infusion of cash. The grant, part of DARPA's Nucleic Acids on Demand Worldwide Now initiative, will allow Moderna to create a 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot container that will be capable
a what
of
by what
producing.
by what?
That's what I didn't stutter, Aaron. That was a 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot container that will be capable of producing hundreds of doses in just a few short days. These containers could be placed
Wow.
anywhere in the world, making distribution more seamless. In other words, more tyrannical. So the mobile unit has been likened to an espresso machine, given its compact size. 6 by 6 by 6 isn't necessarily
Well,
compact.
I mean, most people are. There's a lot of people taller than 6 feet, so I was thinking about that. Is there somebody in there, or is it just a machine? Just you drive up and pew into your arm, pew pew.
Maybe you walk into it.
Yeah, but what if you're taller than 6 feet?
I mean, maybe you got to sit.
Maybe there's a chair. Yeah.
Could be like a clown car.
You can allow
and by
6
the way,
people in there at once.
I grabbed all these out of the Discord, so some of them I've looked at, some of them I haven't. So if you happen to have been one of the people that dropped these, thanks, by the way. And so let's see, the mobile unit. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I got this article from TMF Productions, by the way. So he's the one that covered the 6 by 6 by 6 foot that I saw first. I don't know, somebody else probably did too, but anyway, go on. My apologies for interrupting.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, I try to give credit when I can, but sometimes I forget where I found things. We look forward to building on our experience rapidly designing and manufacturing vaccines as demonstrated with mRNA-1273, our COVID-19 vaccine currently in phase 3 study. Stephanie Bancel, Chief Executive Officer of Moderna, said in a statement, "This new award will allow us to explore the reach of our technology to potentially enable fast, in-field, automated manufacturing of vaccines and therapeutics for both military personnel and civilians around the world in a container that can be deployed rapidly." It's a robot. Okay, let's just call it what it is.
AI robot, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, the AI is what created the virus and the vaccine in the first place. It's a programmable virus or vaccine. That's what mRNA technology is.
So the chat's saying it's a portable guillotine in the back, and World Bigfoot Radio says it's like suicide booths on Futurama, and Doc Michaels says McDonald's processes the leftovers.
Well, I'm glad that it's getting such a response, because think how many people are out there being like, "Oh, everything I've ever wanted. I can't wait."
An espresso machine style vaccine maker and distributor. Yay.
Yeah, let's call it an espresso machine. Maybe we can get Starbucks to sponsor it.
You probably could.
So let me continue here. Bancel, who has consistently said Moderna expects to be able to file for an emergency use of its coronavirus vaccine as early as November 25th. So that's the thing. This isn't fear-mongering. This is what they're saying, like they want to get it in you fast, this is so crazy. The pandemic has hammered the U.S., resulting in more than 7 million contracting the virus and over 210,000 deaths, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. I still think that's bogus anyway. Last month, Moderna announced its coronavirus vaccine candidate, mRNA-1273, induced consistently high levels of neutralizing antibody levels in 40 healthy participants across 2 age groups, 56 to 70 and 71 and over. And mind you, this is apparently the 2-dose vaccine that they're planning to give to everybody. So, I don't want to see how they could be getting proper data in such a short amount of time. Moderna has come under scrutiny for failing to enroll enough minorities in the vaccines. Of course.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Jeez.
Leftist thing. Sorry, I didn't expect to read that. It kind of
That's the minorities will be some of the first to get it. After our, what do you say, the 1A group, which is our medical
That's
providers.
Your essential workers. Basically, those are in healthcare, taking care of the elderly, etc. And here's another thing: if they've passed the legislation, I forgot to grab the screenshot and link of this, but they managed to pass over the holidays the legislation for minors to give consent.
Yeah.
So I
all
would
over,
like to
or was
urge,
that New York or where?
I can't remember. So if anybody in the chat knows, they could.
I was
maybe
just
clue
talking
us
about
in.
this with somebody, that they were going to do that, and that they were going
Yeah,
to
they
give
snuck it in over the holiday.
the children were going to be able to decide, just like they can decide their gender. They are able to decide if they want the vaccines or not.
Or abortions, for that matter.
Of course, they're already doing that.
It's going to be a horrible term with Biden, that's for sure. So, anyway, shares of Moderna have soared in 2020, rising more than 200%. So, no coinky dink. They're getting huge infusions of cash, which, we're paying for that, Like, that's what
and
the
also,
crazy thing.
Anyone that thinks that Trump is anti-vax, or he's not going to make it mandatory, because I'm hearing that all the time. Oh, he says it's not mandatory. He is pushing. He says vaccine every turn of the corner. He was just on a call with that crazy Maria Bartiromo or whatever. She yells a lot. She sounds just like that. But he was on this phone call with her, and all he could do was brag about his vaccines and my vaccines, my vaccines, my vaccines, and his Operation Warp Speed. And you remember his general that said they were going to distribute them to everyone in a, I don't know, 24-hour period or whatever he said. And I know you said he didn't mean he was going to distribute the vaccine into their skin, but distribute them all over.
Throughout the country.
Throughout the country.
Well, there might be a 6x6x6 container in a neighborhood near you.
That just shows up overnight, like the monolith, in the desert.
Which, by the way, is gone now.
Yeah,
already.
I know. What a goofy thing. No, it showed up somewhere else. It's in Romania. Jeffrey says that
What?
Romania has something to do with Utopia.
What?
Yeah.
The monolith is in Romania now? I'm not able to even keep up anymore, man. Like, hold on, I gotta make a note.
And they replaced the monolith with some rock piles and a pyramid, which tells me it's just being goofy. It's just goofy.
No, it's not.
I know
it's significant.
But it's goofy it's goofy to those of us that have eyes to see. To other people are like, "Whoa, this is so cool! I want to check out the frequencies on it and stuff." And I'm like, they're just playing with you, man. They're just playing with.
Hit
around.
Me again here. Rock piles and what?
A pyramid. Been replaced with rock piles and a pyramid, and now if Geoffrey is still here, I think he is. Oh yeah, above all, black people first, Tuskegee. Yep, it's like where they gave everybody syphilis.
Exactly. Polio or something, didn't they?
He sent me the art. Yeah, he sent me the article or whatever where it's now in Romania, and he said that there has something to do with Utopia, but I don't remember because I didn't watch all of Utopia.
Well, that's the UK version then, because the guy that made the virus, who is the father of Jessica Hyde, happens to be Romanian. And so he made an adjustment to the vaccine at the last minute, but didn't tell the New World Order what it was. And what it was is he made everybody stare. See, he didn't necessarily, they didn't know who he chose a race.
Right.
Because it was a programmable vaccine. That's what
matter.
You're dealing with this mRNA crap, guys.
That's
they
right.
can make it do whatever they want. And so why else would they want to race it? It's within less than a year from vial to bloodstream. I mean, that is unheard of. And so, I've never been pro-vax. The last thing I got was a tetanus shot, and it messed me up bad. Like, I have gotten sick more since then than I ever have. Now I feel awesome now, so I think I finally beat whatever it did to me, but it really did mess me up bad. I had post site or I had ejection site pain for like
Yeah.
2 years.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
yeah, that was just one of the things, and it would make me sick randomly, and it was horrible. So that was just for tetanus, you know. So I did a little bit of reading on it, and apparently there was pig cells used in that. I mean, I don't know if my
Mm-hmm.
particular one had all that junk, but what I've read is that tetanus alone has the pig and had something else too, but didn't alarm me as much as the pig. But then that's what got me into the looking into, well, what animals are they actually incorporating into these things? Because then when we look at Utopia, each one of those creatures that bore a vial, you know, was a different animal. So, you know, it's a chimera. They want to turn us in. They're trying to.
All right. His
Let's go all the way
animal.
back to the. Yeah, let's go all the way back to Adam. And what was his job?
Uh, Adam. Oh, Adam from the
Yeah, the
show.
first man.
Oh
Oh,
no,
no, no,
Adam. Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I meant like OG Adam.
Okay. We're going back to the garden. Sorry.
Yeah, back to the garden. Represent.
Well, I don't think he had a. Well, I don't remember what he had a job.
He had a job, and his job was to name all the
Dominion over
animals.
the. Okay, and Dominion, right?
Yeah. So, you know, he was over, man was over all the kingdoms, right? I mean, if you go into biology, that's
Yeah,
what we call the
that's right.
animal kingdoms,
Yep.
and they're all associated with spirits and angels. And and so he was over them all, and he had dominion over them until he fell, and that's how this whole mess started. But you know, with the serpent seed, etc. But that's what the Nephilim were doing, was they were blurring the lines between the kingdoms because they wanted to share in that authority that Adam had. And the only way for them to do that was to possess a human body. And so they couldn't do this until they got us to break God's law. And that's what allowed sin to enter. So, you know, that's how I see this, is that, you know, sin is what allows these spirits to enter. It's the chink in our armor, as it were, right? So if you let this injection into you, I mean, that's definitely, that's a chink in your armor right there. You can't heal, you know, because what they're doing is they're flooding your bloodstream with all these other animal cells, and you
Yep.
know, you're not even going to be a human anymore. You're going to be like this.
Well,
You're going to be a chimera,
think of it like
which is
this:
what a
with
Nephil.
where does the rhesus thing come from? And this is, I've tried to talk about this before, but I don't have a lot of information because it's really hard to study something like the null blood that has no Rh positive or negative attribute, which means there is something in the DNA of the blood cell that shows that you're either Rh negative or Rh positive. It's still in the DNA. The Rh is somehow still there, whether you show it or whether you have the protein whatever on the blood cell. I don't remember everything, but bear with me, guys. I'm not a hematologist. Whether it shows or not, what determines whether you're positive or negative. But the Rh is still in your DNA. But there's a blood type called the Rh null, which means you don't even have it. It's non-existent. And in fact, there's only like 50 people in the world that have it that they know of. And so they try to act like, oh, scary. What if they need to get a blood transfusion? But I'm wondering, is that really the purest blood? Because everybody says, well, it's the Rh negative because that's what the bloodlines are trying to keep. But for what reason? I mean, is it for the Antichrist more likely? Because, like you said, they want the chimeric blood. So why the Rh, the rhesus monkey? I mean, you could say, well, Aaron, they just called it that because it's very similar to the DNA of that you see in the rhesus monkey blood type. No, I'm pretty sure that's not exactly what it is. I think the whole truth would be that there's some kind of chimeric rhesus monkey DNA alter in our bloodline somewhere along the way. I don't know why that monkey. You know, I don't have that answer. But what about the Rh null that don't even have that, and they don't have all the other problems? You know, they don't have all the other. How many, like, you know, we have so many reactions to so many different blood type reactions that can happen with getting other people's blood, not just the Rh. That there's like 5 other ones. But anyway, I think all of that doesn't make sense. That's the original blood type for us. I think all those added proteins that come on with your A, your B, your O, all those things, and the RH are are not the purest, are not the pure blood anymore. And there's only like 60 people in the world left with it.
Well, it might, you know what? It might be a good lead for you then is Sephardic Jews. Try looking into that because that's like the, um, I guess before the Ashkenazim influence.
How do you spell that?
Sephardic, I think, is Sepherdic, maybe.
I have to look that up.
Maybe that's it. No, hold on. A spell check might help me out. Sheep herder. Well, you know, it's funny. It probably does mean something like that. But anyway, which actually, it's probably right. Sepher, because Sephiro is the tree of life. So maybe it is. I'd say it's close to that anyway. Here we go. Sephardic. There we go. Thank you, Grass Food. I like your name. You'll be good when Revelation 9 happens.
Yeah.
Because you're a green thing. So here's another article here on the DARPA stuff. So this looks like it might actually conference call to be held on Thursday, October 8th at 8, of course. Keep seeing 88.
88.
It was in Donnie Darko. It was in Back to the Future.
Yeah, we covered that a couple Fridays ago. I don't think it was this last Friday, maybe the Friday before. If anyone doesn't know, we do this every Friday usually, but we're doing little break-offs here when we get some of this fun information. But anyway, keep going.
I think this relates to time travel, by the way. It would be two infinities, which I've seen associated with the moon and the sun. And then, of course, 1776 divided by 2 is 888. So, you know, I don't know if there's a connection there or not, but I will be covering maybe next Friday, in addition to the menorah stuff, I do want to discuss this Orion character who maybe is the beast that was, is, and shall be. I think I got a lead on that too, so I'll cover that Friday. But anyway, let's read about this this stuff here. I noticed here they had a slightly different measurement given. I mean, it's not different, but it expanded. It didn't occur to me at first that 6 feet was also 1.8 meters. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. Yes. So you got 3 6s and then 3 1.8s. So there's a little bit of number play there. And then I shared some things in the chat there about the name of God, for instance. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So, you know, we are talking about the Tetragrammatron after all. And so, you know, I think what they're trying to do here is not only they're quite literally trying to alter God's word, but not in the way you would think, maybe. You know, because they're always trying to use God's law against God to hurt him. This was done in the garden when they, you know, tricked Adam and Eve, for instance. And then, you know, this is the whole persecuting attorney idea that I mentioned last Friday, is that they're always trying to use the law against you to trip you up. And that's what introduces sin into our lives, you know. So it's almost as if they're trying to challenge God like they did with the Tower of Babel, in a sense, by, you know, kind of using his own name against us. So it's like where something that would normally be used to create is then used to destroy, which would explain why the mark of the beast has 666, because 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So yeah, and this gentleman here mentioned how he gives and takes away. So that would be the right hand and the left hand. Right hand of creation, left hand of destruction. So yeah, that fits really well. So if you guys have any more stuff to add about the Tetragrammaton, particularly in the 216 flavor. Please share that, because each of them are names, I think. Okay, so let's move on. See if there's anything. Oh, there's actually a conference call you can join, but that's past.
Yeah, it was going to be at 8 a.m. on October 8th.
I would have loved to sat in on that. Oh, hey guys, we got contact information for these lovely folks. So
I'm sure they're easy
I
to
don't
just
think
dial up and talk to the corporate
you'd be surprised, right?
director of corporate communications. They have their phone number right there. There they are. Media. Oh, that's media and investors. Never mind. That's just something
Well, I'm
else.
sure they got Barda on speed dial for the investor here.
Yeah.
Let's see what this is here. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act. I don't know what this looks like stuff. It's just about their corporation. Let's see if there's anything of merit here.
You just got
This
really,
looks like it's
there you
really
are.
just
Never mind.
rehashing everything that we read. Pardon?
You got really quiet, but you're fine now.
Oh, excuse me. I'll try to make sure the mic's sitting in front of my face. Okay, let me move on to this one then. I tried to get several articles on the same thing, I think is what I was doing here. And so this one here, oh, getting out of the habit here of sharing stuff. Let me, there we go. Okay, thank you for bearing with me, guys. I didn't have time to get totally organized here. We're going to go ahead and begin. The most significant scientific discovery since gravity has been hiding in plain sight for nearly a decade, and its destructive potential to humanity is so enormous that the biggest war machine on the planet immediately... What are we reading? Wait a second.
This is really
article?
odd. They
Okay,
believe in
is.
gravity. Okay. They believe in gravity being
just...
hidden in plain sight. All right.
Well, it wasn't even that. I was just starting to wonder, like, are we reading about a weapon or something?
It sounds like it.
Yeah. So the biggest war machine on the planet immediately deployed its vast resources.
Which reminds me, real quick, because Trump talked about his Operation Warp Speed and compared it to the Manhattan Project, which was about creating the atom bomb. So anyway, go on.
The atom of Eden was a bomb. And then
Okay.
he also called himself I am death, the destroyer of worlds, right? That's what the man Oppenheimer said that.
Oh, okay, that's right.
We covered that like
it's
10
been a while.
episodes ago, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, so pardon me and my antics here. So vast resources to possess and control it, financing its research and development through agencies like the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and HHS. I think that's the Department of Homeland Security, BARDA. So, oh, wait. Health and Human Services. So this is the DHHR. Okay. The revolutionary breakthrough came to a Canadian scientist named Derek Rossi in 2010 purely by accident. The now retired Harvard professor claimed in an interview with the National Post that he found a way to, quote, reprogram the molecules that carry the genetic instructions for cell development in the human body, not to mention all biological life forms, all flesh, in other words. These molecules are... Can you imagine? What if this vaccine was...
Reprogram the molecules.
A virus... Well, you use a virus to create a vaccine. So what if the vaccine was a virus, essentially?
There was no virus, so that's how they're doing this. They're creating... They normally would give you the virus, right, to get your antibodies, but what they're doing now is, like you said, programmable matter that's going in there, and it's going to change the genetic instructions like it says on here. So it's not coming in as a virus this time, and I don't think they're carrying it even in a, I don't know.
Something came across my mind just a moment ago. I read something that this is actually called a trans vector. I actually got to... Yeah, I have a photo here. I'll look for it. It's actually important. It covers what they are actually using as a certain type of technology here that yeah, here it is. Sorry, I didn't have it up. Any vaccine that needs to be shipped and stored at -80 degrees isn't a vaccine. It's a transfection agent kept alive so it can infect your cells and transfer genetic material. Don't let them fool you. This is genetic manipulation of humans on a massive scale. Shut it down. This is the disruptive physician on Twitter. So I thought, well, what is that? So I looked up, or he had a screenshot rather, I think, actually. So let's look this up real quick. I thought I had a link, but it actually was a picture. So, oopsie, here we go. Transfection.
WP Gin Lighten for Truth. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. It says that the atom bomb was actually, they were trying to create voltage and energy to open a portal. So it was more than just the bomb.
Oh, they didn't want to just create a weapon to destroy life. They really were trying to create the Tower of Babel.
Which CERN is trying to do now, right? So
they were going to figure it out eventually, I guess. Maybe they should explode an atom bomb over CERN and see what happens. Worst case scenario, no more CERN, right?
Yeah.
So let's see here. That didn't give me what I thought it would. Transfection.
Are you looking for the images, maybe?
Ah, here we go. Well, I wanted to read this because this explains better what this virus really, or this vaccine really is. I just kind of came across this. So rather than read it off the picture that I have, I figured I'd just go ahead and bring it up. Okay, transfection is the process of deliberately introducing naked or purified nucleic acids in eukaryotic cells. It may also refer to other methods and cell types, although other terms are often preferred. Transformation, quote, is typically used to describe non-viral DNA transfer in bacteria and non-animal eukaryotic cells, including plant cells. In animal cells, transfection is the preferred term, as transformation is also used to refer to progression to a cancerous state. In these cells, transduction is often used to describe virus-mediated gene transfer into the eukaryotic cells. This is strange because I remember as a child having the idea, why don't they use viruses to cure cancer? You know what I mean? Like, and then here we are reading about it. my. So the word transfection is a portmanteau or trans and infection. Genetic material such as supercoiled plasmid DNA or siRNA, I haven't heard of that one before, or even proteins such as antibodies may be transfected. Transfection of animal cells typically involves opening transient pores or portals, in a cell membrane to allow the uptake of material. Transfection can be carried out using calcium phosphate. We're getting into alchemy here. Tricalcium phosphate by electroportation, by cell squeezing or mixing a catatonic lipid with the material to produce liposomes that fuse with cell membrane and deposit their cargo inside. Lipid transport. Kind of similar to how the hydroxychloroquine increases zinc uptake. It's similar to that, only it's a lipid and you know other things.
The last sentence there is worth reading.
Zinc. Transfection can result in unexpected morphologies and abnormalities in target cells, otherwise known as emergent. Wow, this is interesting, guys. So yeah, I mean, I won't go on and on because this is probably going to get into words I can't pronounce or something like that. But yeah, I would encourage some folks. Yeah, please get into this, folks. Wow. So anyway, let me go back to this article. I think we were on this one. Yep. And so, anyway, this guy basically invented this method, and that's what it does. Right there. We were just reading about it. So it's basically like they're creating their own virus to fight against viruses, essentially. So my question is, if viruses are already can migrate between species once they mutate, and we just read, uh, you know, does this sound like the word mutation to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can result in, yeah, I mean, that kind of sounds like mutation to me. So if a virus can mutate in nature and jump from species to species, is it possible that this could do the same thing? You know, I don't know. I know that sounds a little bit out there, but I mean, and if not with this one, then it's surely one in the future, you know. Who knows? So we probably won't even really see what this thing's capable of until the second dose has been given out. Because again, in Utopia, it was a two-part deal there too, where they combined what was an amino acid and a protein. So they said that what was otherwise very harmless, isolated, when combined, created, you know, the entirely new set of instructions, I guess, if you will. So, you know, that's kind of the method we're seeing here. And another thing is, if they're focusing on children and elderly, you know, let's say that it does cause sterility. Who's going to know that inside a year anyway? You know, nobody would know if the vaccine was what kept them from conceiving. You see, so there's another angle to take at it too. Because that's exactly what happened in Utopia. It's also what happened in Childhood's End with Philip K. Dick. Have you ever seen that, by the way? It was adapted to film. This guy, I think his name's Vrillon, shows up, and he looks like a demon, of course, but he's an alien, and you know, he picks his ambassador and everything on Earth. And then at some point they infect everybody with a virus, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, everybody will get to live out their last days," just basically sinning, you know, because now they can do whatever they want. And then he takes all the children and leaves, you know. So it's like a rapture, but of the children.
Right.
But it's still very similar to what we're seeing here with this stuff. So I don't know. I think fiction's getting pretty close to being nonfiction at this point.
I think it kind of always has been. I think that, you know, they talk about the science fiction was not really people warning us or somehow knowing ahead of time because they just had a mindset to understand what could happen in the future by looking at today. It was that they were doing predictive programming writing.
Yeah. Well, that, and it's probably part of their deal, you know. They can't tell the truth outright, but they can tell it through stories. Something like that. Like we talked about before, I think it lessens their karmic debt somehow.
Well, Aldous Huxley was not the only Huxley involved in a lot of this stuff. There was scientific Huxleys, too, that were in science. You know, there was scientist Huxleys and other Huxleys doing other things. I don't have it all in front of me right now, but they were all involved in something pretty profound, not just Aldous. There's like three or four of them.
Weren't they all part of a society? The name escapes me at the moment, but like H.G. Wells and all
the Saturn. What is it? The Saturn.
Nah, they were all part of this something or other society. I'll try to find what it is.
Saturn order or something. That was. I haven't studied this in a while.
Obvious.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of. But anyway, they were all part of some group, and I think that was maybe what they were doing was, you know, it was all these different artists and writers and stuff like that. Anyway, it's probably connected to the stained glass in the London School of Economics. Can't remember what they're called. Anyway,
well, it's 6:15. We better move on. We got to be done in 45-ish.
Well, anyway, I already dropped this link, I think.
You did.
If I didn't, I'll go ahead and drop it. Okay, let me go ahead and drop it again, just in case I didn't. Okay, and then I'm not going to read but because these are all kind of the same thing, I'll go ahead and drop them all so we can do some comparative
Cyber Monday
study.
sale.
The Hellfire Club sounds, you got the right idea, but I don't think it was that one. And there's another one. I'm sure there's lots actually, but I'll do some thinking.
Wait a minute.
And then
DARPA funding an implantable biochip. Didn't Bayal Gates' wife said that technology doesn't even exist yet?
Oh yeah, like laughing when she said it.
Yeah. She's like, I know for a fact my husband's not going to put a chip in anyone. He's not even, for one, he's never said that, but that technology doesn't even exist yet. Okay.
Yeah.
It has for like 20 years, but okay.
And it's the 6x6x6 thing, which, what do you know? Here we go. So I didn't necessarily know that this was going to be the next frame. But anyway, when
Goonies.
I was watching the Goonies, man, and just so happens, like, I don't know what channel this was at the Mexican restaurant.
False Flag channel.
But as you can see, what are the two letters here?
False Flag. That's right. I know. FF.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that, Aaron. Good job. Well, you know what FF is then. It's 66,
Yep.
sixth letter in the alphabet.
Right.
So it's 66. Now, if you recall, and I did try to look for this. I think I've shown it in the past. But there's a Donnie Darko scene when she is talking about the book known as The Destroyers. And there's a stack of the books.
Right, where they set fire to the house. Or flooded the basement.
Sorry. Yes, exactly. No, it's cool. The school board made her pull the book. It's just she had them all stacked there. And so in one of the scenes, if you look real carefully, it's very distinct. There are 3 Fs, like one right beside the other, which would be 666. But yeah, destroyers of fire and water, which that's exactly what Yahweh did, was water, and now it'll be fire. But anyway, there's also 66 books in the Bible.
That's right.
And then there's also 66 stars.
Except for my Bible that has Maccabees, so I've got more books.
There's a lot of books that should be included, in my opinion. But there's a reason they only included 66, you see. So I agree. There are others that people should supplement with, but I'm still trying to figure out, like, why there's 66. Because that seems to be a purposeful number, in my opinion. Particularly when you consider that the Genesis 6 conspiracy discusses Nephilim and giants.
And just very, very briefly. So briefly. It just says there were Nephilim before and after the flood.
Exactly. And I mean, you can, if you got the eyes to see, you can kind of see, like when it talks about men of renown and as it was in the days of Noah. I mean, if you really are knowing what to look for, it is in there more, but it's only explicitly stated like once, or maybe twice when they talk about Nimrod. So anyway, we got the Genesis 6 reference, and then we got the 66 books of the Bible, and then of course your unicorn constellation, which again we just left that in terms of the window for meteor showers, just passed through that in the middle part of the month, and that's right beside Orion. And so the horn of the unicorn actually goes up through the wooden club of Orion, and that's where we had our solar eclipse on June 20th or June 21st. I think it was June 21st, 2020, that's the same month you'll find 6/6. June 6th is 6/6. And that's where your unicorn is in the sky. So it's funny that I keep running across all these weird references to 66, and I think it has something to do with the unicorn, which apparently it is in the Bible quite a bit. And I've pulled up several verses on it at this point. So maybe that's another thing I can cover Friday, as we'll talk a little bit about the unicorn, because there's a lot to do with that. And I think I understand what it's talking about finally.
Okay,
but anyway,
let's do that. Don't forget.
and yeah, these are all just pictures, so this part will go pretty quick.
I mean, don't forget that we were talking about Unicorns Friday.
Oh, I won't, because believe me, man, that's it's one of the many things that it's always on my radar. Okay, so which is a wild ox, by the way. And we're in the what is it? The year we're in is represented by Aleph, which is ox, Nun, and then Shin. So in other words, it means like voice of God or something like that, which this Nun is seed, like a sperm. So it is literally like the first word, when God spoke everything in existence. So it is kind of a weird way to describe the year too, with basically what seems to be a unicorn reference, essentially. Okay, so in this Goonies, and if you're familiar with Goonies, I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but I've only seen like the last 30 minutes of this. So
don't worry, I've seen it a million times.
Well, I know it's got a cult following, so I don't want to like.
I mean, as a
You should
kid,
have
before I
mentioned
knew
this
what it.
or that.
No, don't worry. I'm not like that about it. I just saw it a lot as a kid. I don't know about the cult following part, but so just go ahead.
Well, I mean, you were surprised I hadn't seen it even, so I mean, like that's what I mean.
I
Like
was
it's
surprised,
got a
yes.
pretty big following, kind of like Donnie Darko in a sense. So anyway, as you can see here, I circled the eye patch. That do you know the name? Do you know this guy's name?
One-Eyed Willie.
Yeah, interesting that he has a last, or that his name begins with a W, which is which letter again in the Hebrew alphabet?
I don't know.
The Shin.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna do terrible on trivia night. I'm gonna lose trivia night.
It's fine. And we got let me see, is this I thought I had a Wilson up.
One-Eyed Wilson.
There he is. Yeah, so there we got Wilson too, with the one eye, and hit One-Eyed Wilson and One-Eyed Willie. What do these two guys have in common aside from the fact they got one eye?
Is this a trivia question?
Well, both of their names begin with a W.
Well, yes.
Which is the Shin.
WWW.
Shin. Interesting. So anyway, this is often associated with the Fool, I've noticed, and the number 300, because that's Shin's value. I did see something interesting today. Somebody posted in the Discord. It was like an artwork of a tarot card for the Fool, but it like had Shin on it with the letter value of 300, and it even had a cat sitting down here on the left-hand corner of the card, and I thought that was really weird because it's just everything we'd be talking about today. So I think there's some type of connection between the Shin and also these names of God, and I haven't figured everything out yet, but I keep getting shown, or this stuff keeps getting revealed to me somehow, and I think that's why I've come to the conclusion after watching this Goonies thing. This movie is about alchemy. And so not only that, but how many stars is in this dude's eye? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you know how many stars are in the Pleiadian constellation?
7 sisters.
Exactly. And if you've ever seen the one eye motif enough times, oftentimes I've seen it depicted with a red eye, and I've actually dreamt it before too. But anyway, this 7 stars thing seems to be associated with Orion. Orion is always chasing after the Pleiadians, the 7 sisters, and so it's like another indirect unicorn reference, I guess, is the way I kind of interpret it here. And let's see. The baby Ruth
appears in movies too. This was in Caddyshack
Yes, it
also,
was.
so I'm starting to wonder if there's something to that.
Maybe something about
But
babies and eating babies. I don't know.
well, if you're baby face, then you're a good guy. If you turn heel, then you're a bad guy. So this is the turn heel guy that became a good guy. So it could be that, but then also I think the Ruth part here might be significant. So I was wondering if you could tell me anything about Ruth that, maybe I didn't know. She was a judge, right?
No, Ruth in the Bible?
Yeah.
No, she was a widow, and her mother-in-law was Naomi, who was also a widow. So she married Naomi's son, gets widowed. Naomi gets widowed. So they travel together, and Ruth says she's going to follow her wherever she goes. And Naomi's like, "Don't do that because you need to go have your own life and not follow me around." But she does. She continues to follow Naomi, who changes her name to Mara, because that means bitter, which is funny because I didn't know that when I gave my second daughter, her middle name is Mara. But anyway, and so as they're
What?
traveling together, the Ruth meets Boaz, and Boaz becomes like this wonderful. He actually like covers. She lays herself at his feet naked, and he covers her. Anyway, he becomes like a total gentleman, and she remarries, and so the story of Ruth is really kind of a redeeming the widow story, and Naomi goes back to being Naomi because she stopped being so embittered. But no, as far as a judge, no, I don't think anything like that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I didn't know anything about Ruth really, so I wasn't
It's
sure
only
if there was
4
something.
chapters, guys. Read it.
Okay. Well, I don't know how that could apply here, but I do see this candy bar more frequently than some others, so I always wondered if there's something to it. Um, anyway, here's the next scene I wanted to point out is where sloth, which is one of the 7 deadly sins, by the way. Here we have sloth, and the children are escaping through his
Yeah, I
legs.
always felt weird about that, even as a kid. Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Well, but here's the thing. Are you familiar with the Odyssey?
A bit.
Did you remember the part where Odysseus and his men get trapped on the island with the Cyclopes?
Yeah,
Well,
he's
that's
Sloth
pretty
is kind
much
of a cyclops.
yes. And yes, he may not have one eye, but he sure looks, I mean, you know what I mean? He may as well.
Right.
And and so here he is, not and see here's how the men had to get out of the cave. They ended up blinding the giant, right?
Right.
Which I think too this represents like the pineal, like we've seen in the Bylor with Irish myths, Goliath with the David story. And note it's also in the center of the head, not just one eye on either side, but in the center of the head.
Yeah.
So this one eye emphasis, like it talks about in Matthew, about the eye being single. Anyway, the giants are not known for having this. Only God's people seem to have it. So anyway, they poke his eye out, and then he thinks, okay, well, I can't see, but I'll still get them. Well, what they do is they end up riding under sheep. Like they grab a hold of the sheep or something, and because he'll let his sheep out because he wants to eat them later. He knows they'll come back. So they grab a hold of the sheep, the lamb, salvation, right? It's kind of funny how this story is. And they ride out through his legs on sheep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre. So it's kind of similar, only that he's not trying to get them. He is helping them. So it's a little bit of a reverse there. But if you
Trust
do
the
notice,
Cyclops. Sorry.
Well, never trust a Cyclops.
No,
This
that's
guy has both of his
that's
eyes.
Okay.
So he's cool.
Okay. Okay.
And don't trust Wilson.
Does he have 6 fingers though?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he might. So anyway, so this is just when I saw this scene, man, that's just immediately what popped in my head. And not only that, but he's holding up a stone also.
So it's almost like he's the reverse of the giant that you would expect. So he's almost like a Prometheus type character because he's helping humans and not hurting them in a way. I don't know how to really interpret that fully. I did have another picture that I didn't get up here quickly enough. But I noticed that early on in the movie, he's actually wearing I think, is it Oakland Raiders?
I don't remember that. That's
Well,
making me
anybody,
try
I'm
to come
sure
up.
somebody
Yeah, somebody in the chat might know.
I'm sure somebody in the chat could correct me, but it's what you would call a buccaneer, but I think in this case it's the Raider. But it's the one eye patch guy with two sabers crossed behind the helmet or whatever it is. Whatever the depiction is, it's got like two sabers crossed and then a one-eyed dude wearing a helmet maybe. He's wearing that shirt earlier in the show, like when Chunk and him initially bond, and he gives him the baby Ruth. That it's right in that scene somewhere where you if you really pay attention, and I didn't notice this till I got back home because I didn't get to see this part at the restaurant, but I noticed in one split frame he's wearing that Oakland Raiders shirt. Not only that, but he's on the television. He's watching some movie about pirates. And if you notice,
he is. That's right. I remember that.
then later on, he mimics what he sees on the TV and jumps down with a knife and like cuts the sail just like it did on the TV.
Like it did on the movie.
So it's so weird to just because I haven't even, like I said, I haven't even watched it yet, and I'm already seeing all these weird things. Which, of course, this dude here is a pirate too, with the one eye. So it's as if somehow Sloth was like embodying Willie or something. I don't even know how to take
Willie
that
was
exactly.
embodying Sloth.
Yeah, like he controlled Sloth or something because he was dim-witted. I don't know. But anyway, when they finally get out, now what did Naomi change her name to?
Mara.
Did you know Mar refers to the sea?
Yeah. Well, yeah, bitter waters even. Mara refers to like bitter waters even.
That's wormwood. What wormwood will do to the waters is make them bitter, right?
Oh,
boy. Mara is actually also the mother. So if you noticed, I had a picture of this too, but again, I didn't have time. But the mother in this is wearing all black. And she's got
Mama
the
Fratelli
and stuff. Yeah. Yes, which Fratelli means brothers, and so she has two brothers with her too, right?
Yep.
And
sons, yeah.
So she is like the black mother, Black Madonna kind of thing. I that's how I'm interpreting it. And but anyway, black also represents Nigretto, and being born of the sea and stuff. But these dudes are actually wearing green jackets, which maybe from this time didn't seem so odd. I mean, I can almost see it in my mind if I try hard enough. But let's just say in this movie, I think it was on purpose. They're wearing green jackets and then red hats. So the first thing I thought was, oh, wow, Trump hats, Jacobin type hats, But then when I got to thinking about it, here we go with green and red, which this has even happened in Trump rallies where they'll have green and red hats. I've seen all sorts of different colors, even white. But, in one instance, I did see the green and red hats together. Well, green and red are the alchemical colors of the great work, the completed great work, when it's going from one final phase to the other, and liquid gold is purified with the vitriol. The green lion purifies the rebus gold in solution to produce gold, which is exactly, it just occurred to me, which is exactly what these kids were looking for, right?
Yeah, like the Sumerians.
And then there's another scene.
Sumerian mythology, Anunnaki. Sorry.
Oh yeah, man. They all want some gold. And so there's another scene when they're going through the caverns. There's a skull, like a head. The cave is shaped like a skull.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
And at one point, they pass through the nose of the skull. So it almost implies like they're going straight up into the, the inner temple,
They're
sanctum or
doing
whatever.
a convid test, a fovid test.
COVID test. Oh, that's so funny. Again, another great reason why you shouldn't let them do that to you. You don't
You
know what's going
don't
on.
let them climb up into your sinuses, man.
Well, at the very least, you're giving them a DNA sample. Because
Yep.
I mean, do they throw that stuff away?
No,
I've
they
not
send
gotten
it into a lab.
Well, there you go. So, anyway, next scene right after that shows, what do you know? A green, white car or chariot, Merkaba, which you got your blue and your red right here, Sirius. So this is your left and right type thing, your two hemispheres of the brain, if you will, however you want to interpret that.
Blue and red is used a lot for as opposites, especially on, like on Marvel superhero
politics.
Stuff. Politics, yep. Mm-hmm.
It represents the division, which a friend of mine pointed this out to me. She and I were talking about the I Pet Goat thing, and she's like, oh. She sent me a screenshot of where the lightning bolt divides the brain, and then the dragon's off to the side, right under the chalkboard. She's like, it looks like, that's symbolizing the divide of the mind. And I was like, yeah, man, because if that's our temple, a temple divided will not stand, right? So it's when your two halves are actually working in sync, they can't fool you, like you get your stone. You can see through all that illusion and stuff. And so that's kind of how I'm interpreting this in a sense. But anyway, you go to the next one here. So I really would, oh yeah, there's the Black Mother. Now notice she's also
Pizza. Pizza.
Pearls.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I know, man. I don't know why they put a pizza. Why do they include a pizza? So I don't know, but
and I think he's wearing like a Superman shirt too, or something.
Yeah, he is. He is actually.
What were you gonna say about the pearls? I'm sorry. Go back to the pearls.
Pearls come from the sea, and pearls represent wisdom, and she's the Black Mother. And I'm not sure. I think she might have had these pearls on before she got into the cave, but at one point she does pull these pearls out of the kid's mouth, or makes him spit them out.
Right.
So, I think there's something to be represented here with her and those pearls. But here we have a Domino's box. I mean, this seems like it somehow got crammed in there. Now, I get it. His name's Chunk, implying that the kid has some, that he loves food. All right. But, I almost feel like they forced this pizza into the last moments of the movie, because it seemed really rushed all of a sudden. Like as soon as they get out of the sea, it's like boom, we ran out of money, let's tie this up, guys.
But we forgot to add the pizza, so let's do it, because even like Home Alone, there was like tons of pizza, all these, that and pizza references. I mean, like Home Alone was filled with tons of pizza, and it's a kids movie.
Well, that's the thing. Isn't that tied to like some type of weird pedophilia stuff?
It's exactly what it means. Cheese pizza, all that stuff. It's exactly what it is.
I don't get into that because it upsets me so much. So I'm not real up on the lingo. So, do you understand then what Domino's pizza in particular could mean? Because it seemed like to me that this had to be significant in some way. Like with a domino, that's like a game of chance,
it's got the blue and and it's got the blue and
that too.
Red. And I'm sure somebody in the chattels have something to say about it.
Oh, okay.
It's also the domino with one dot on one side and two dots on the other. I don't know if that's...
Well, that's 2 and 3, so that could represent Trinity. But okay, that's probably what it is then, Trinity, I'd imagine. And then, like you said, this is Superman, and he's known for his strength and whatnot. But I'm almost wondering if he represents like this Orion character. You know what I mean? Because he wore the one-eyed shirt, or the one-eyed dude, Oakland Raider was on his shirt, where this would be. And it's as the movie progresses, he and Chunk I don't think this is done in a weird way, but they like literally fall in love. You know, he tells him, "I love you, Sloth," and "I love you, Chunk," or whatever. So the one ingredients, so it's like Sloth had it all, man. The only thing he was missing was love. And
Aw.
what's weird is he was chained up too.
Yeah.
What you'll see a lot of times with this alchemical reference is that it's usually a small girl or like a fair maiden, you know, in other words, helpless and hopeless. Girls normally chained up, just like the Pleiade in Constellation and Andromeda, who was to be sacrificed to a sea monster on the sea, but was saved by Perseus on the back of Bellerophon with Medusa's head. So, you know, this hero motif, just like you said, superhero.
Mhm.
That's
The
that must be
superheroes
what
were,
this is about.
and the superheroes were Nephilim or the
Yeah, men of
demigods.
renown.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand. So it's about alchemy to trap angels in your vessel. That's what this must be about. Yes. Okay. So anyway, he represents the half man, half giant Orion, I think. And because we saw this 7 stars here, he's tied to the Pleiadians, I'm pretty sure. So I think Sloth may in fact be like one of the most deeply encoded esoteric phenomena in a movie that I've seen in a while. This is like this thing was ahead of its time. This movie. When was this made? Like in 1985?
I'd say it's 86, maybe. I mean, I could IMDb it. That'd be see about
Well,
that.
I haven't even got into like the director and all that yet, so I'm gonna
Oh,
see
I'm
what
sure it's
else there.
Spielberg. I'm
Oh yeah,
sure
yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
It is actually Spielberg, but I meant like there's another guy that wrote it or something. It wasn't a name I was familiar with, so I was gonna do a dig on all these guys and try to figure
1985.
out like, yeah, that's 35 years ago, man. What a weird.
Richard Donner was the
This
director. You're right.
that's the main.
Chris Columbus and Steven Spielberg were the writers, and the director was Richard Donner.
And if I can find it real quick, because since we have Gary coming on, I will try to read this real quick if I can manage to find
Gary
it.
Wayne, for anyone who didn't know.
Oh, did I just say Gary?
You just said Gary, yeah.
Are we like on a first name basis now?
Yeah.
Apparently we
Apparently.
are.
You know, Gary, my good buddy.
Yeah, I'll see Gary next week. Well, I'm not sure where this is, but somewhere in this book, he writes frequently about the Orion, and that this particular character is also synonymous with. He makes some connections to Azazel and Shemyaza, which he says are the same character, one and the same, but regardless. We're both rebellious angels.
Doc Michael says they made that movie before he was born. He's
Who?
full of it. Doc Michael says they made. I'm sorry, he made me laugh. He says, "Oh, they made that movie before I was born, 1985." Don't think so. Anyway, sorry. Go on. Don't let
That
me.
was actually it was the year I was born.
Yeah,
So,
Doc Michael's lying though.
so I'm not really sure where this is in his book, but I would encourage anybody to go.
Which part?
I bought the Genesis 6 conspiracy.
Yeah.
I'm looking through it right now.
Oh, okay. Well, you can go. There's a thing called the content. There is a contents section, table of contents, where you can kind of quickly run through. But again, it's not that helpful sometimes because he got the same
chapters.
Stuff in different places. Like he'll talk about. Yeah. Anyway, it seems like some of the same. It makes sense because they all cross. You know, it's all related. It all cross references. But there is also 98 chapters, 8 sections, and 98 chapters. So yeah, you might have to.
Well, I'll find it again because there was only particular sections I was really reading right now. So fortunately, I haven't read a lot of it, so I'll be able to go back and trace my steps. But but anyway, what I found striking about this is that he repeats it over and over again, that this particular angel, at least Shemyaza in this case, was like kind of not allowed in heaven or hell. He was like trapped in between. The way I interpret it is that he was somewhat of a repentant angel, but because he had sinned, wasn't permitted to come back, and so he was kind of suspended in the firmament, and apparently hung with a noose in the Orion constellation. So again, I'll have to go back and read all this. So if I'm wrong on some details, I'm sorry. But the way I understand it is that Orion seems to represent this fallen angel. And so remember that Orion is the consort of Artemis, who was the daughter of Zeus and brother of Apollo. And because Zeus and them had already overthrown the giants, they were none too pleased about Artemis seeing Orion. And so to connect it to the blindness here, Orion ends up blind on one occasion and has to walk into the sun to regain his sight in the one case. So we do have this, but he lost, to my knowledge, he lost both eyes in that instance, and not just one, which is what Sloth seems to tie to. So I don't know. It might be a little bit of a leap to connect Sloth to Orion, but this Men of Renown Superman thing, yeah, I think it's pretty spot on. Because what I've been learning here about Orion seems to suggest that he would be considered one of these characters. Now, here is another character that we're still in the one-eyed motif here. This is Nick Fury. Now, he also has one eye, and he's the leader of the SHIELD, which I'm not sure what SHIELD stands for exactly, but he's the leader of this group that I guess is charged with assembling all the superheroes and then sending them on missions and so on and so forth. So think about that. What if we start to see Men of Renown popping up and, to make a good name for themselves or whatever, they're all solving all the world's problems, this, that, and the other. I mean, things could really get interesting if that starts to happen.
There was a movie like that. There was a movie like that with Will Smith where he was like a drunk, and it turned out he had all these super powers, and it also had Charlize Theron in it, and she had like.
I can't remember the name, but I remember watching it.
Yeah. Anyway, just regular everyday superheroes, but they're out being drunks, and then just gonna wake up one day and start saving the world.
It was like a one-word name for the movie, I think, too.
Somebody will probably know. So one of the 27 people listening should probably know.
But at any rate, let me read a little bit about. Oh wow, Nicholas. Okay, Nikolai was the name of the Antichrist figure in the Left Behind series, by the way. So anyway, Nicholas Joseph Fury is a fictional character portrayed by Samuel, which, by the way, his name sounds a lot like Sam A.L., which is a left-hand fallen angel of God. Samuel L. Jackson in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU film franchise, based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. Prior to taking the role, Marvel incorporated Jackson's likeness into the design of the Ultimate Marvel version of the character. As of 2020, Fury has appeared in 11 of the 23 MCU films, beginning with the first, Iron Man, in 2008, and the most recent being Spider-Man Far From Home, 2019. He will also appear in a leading role for the upcoming Disney Plus show.
It was Hancock. Don Michael remembered it.
Thanks, guys. It was a one-word name. Which, by the way, if he was a drunk, he was constantly drinking spirits. Interesting. All right. So Fury originally appeared, created. I don't want to read all that. That's too much. Let's see. I want to get to the part here where, yeah, here we go. He's fighting the scroll. So yeah, there's these shape-shifting dudes, and so they're called the Scroll. And so the Skrulls are a fictional race of extraterrestrial shapeshifters appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. The Skrulls, it's a fun word to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Skrulls first appeared in the Fantastic Four #2 and were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They originated from the planet Skrullos. These were in opposition to what they call the Kree, I do believe. And those folks were blue in color, kind of like your Shiva and, well, pretty much all your, other Nephilim or Anunnaki, perhaps, typically out of India. But then you also see this in South America, too, the blue-skinned folks.
Like the Avatar
all right.
movie.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There's another one. So that seems to be synonymous with the godhood, as it were. The Skrull commander, Talos. Talos is also the name of the Most High God in Skyrim, I think, by the way. He has like some type of cult. Talos the Untamed is a fictional alien appearing in the American comic books. They're so general with their descriptions there.
World Bigfoot Radio says Sarge Fury and his Howling Commandos. Howling, that's really curious. Gary Wayne would have something interesting to say about that. From World War II is where Nick Fury came from.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because he originally lost his eye in the World War II. That's how the comic went. But they changed it in this, and he actually loses his eye. There's a big running gag. Like, he never actually comes out and tells anybody. But in Miss Marvel, or whatever it's called, which I haven't seen it either. I've only got to see, like,
I've heard
a
it's
couple
terrible.
of the...
But I'm sure it's
I've
telling.
only got to...
Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
it was the Fabian Society earlier. I'm sorry.
Thanks, dude. Thank you.
Yeah. Sue
really
or somebody
appreciate
told us that. Can't remember who gave that to us.
It's still not the one I was thinking of, but that's the one that was one of the ones I was thinking of, but not the one I was really wanting to come up with. But yeah, it's something like the Fabian Society and the Hellfire Club. It's like that, but it was a lot of prominent authors were in it. Right. Anyway, let's see. There was something here I wanted to... Oh, yeah. Project Pegasus. Now, remember, Pegasus was... I just mentioned him a moment ago because that's who Perseus rode on. So I'm going to have to read about that later. But anyway, here we go. The Tesseract. That's where I needed to get to. The Cosmic Cube is a fictional object appearing... Oh, how general.
Cosmic Cube.
Let's just read it here. Okay. I'm sorry.
Which
Wiki.
is also, the cube is also often referred to as, it's not often referred to as a philosopher's stone, but people will put the philosopher's stone.
I think it is very close. I think the philosopher's stone, in my opinion, is not until the cube has been unfolded.
Okay.
In the cross form.
So the philosopher's stone may show up as a cube. When you find it, it may be in a cube form.
Yeah, but it's not useful. Like you would have to extract I don't know how to really put it into words exactly yet. Because I intuitively know, but at the same time, I don't even have the vocabulary yet to articulate it properly. Because it's all so new to me so far. But anyway, you have to have I meant to mention, Sloth's ingredient for him to become Superman was love and an imagination. He had to, because all he ever knew was he was chained up in his cave, Plato's cave. Man, this is all just kind of coming out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. So he's chained up in Plato's cave, right? All I could see was this TV. And then he gets out and then, lives out his dreams, as it were, right? And he had love then, which love is one of the necessary alchemical ingredients for the Philosopher's Stone, actually. And then faith. That's another thing you have to have. Because, and that's the thing, you might be given the Philosopher's Stone, and then it's pretty much it grants your wishes. And if you have an evil, dark heart, you're going to be given everything you want, and you become damned. But if you love God and you're given it, well, then you don't want anything. So you deserve it, because you won't even use it. So it's kind of funny in that sense. And that's why they want to drink unicorn blood, because I think the unicorn actually represents somebody that has achieved this state, which children are in this state naturally.
Okay.
But adults don't get there unless they're like in a reborn state.
Well, let's read on the
Did
cosmic.
you lose me?
No, I'm listening. I'm saying that's interesting. I want you to read the cosmic cube part now. Let's read about that.
Oh, yes. And I didn't notice until just now, but it first comes out in Marvel Universe Tales of Suspense, episode 79, July 66.
Wow.
Which, I know, it's like it never stops.
Yeah.
So,
been around forever.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Cosmic Cube, renamed the Tesseract, has been featured in multiple films within the Infinity Saga. It is initially regarded as an unlimited source of power.
Sorry, I got ahead.
What?
Ahead. Go ahead. I was reading ahead.
Space Stone. Okay.
Yeah.
And later revealed to contain the Space Stone of one of the Infinity Stones sought by Thanos. Oh, so the Tesseract contains the Space Stone. So the Tesseract, in this case, must be the cube that contains the stone. Oh, so the cube is the container for the Philosopher's Stone. So once it's unfolded and it becomes the cross, that is the Space Stone, time and space. That would be Alpha and Omega. This is really deep, man. I really enjoy this. Okay, so all right. So they did this back in '66, and again, a unicorn reference. Okay, I don't see. Do you see anything else that's jumping out at you?
I was reading the chat.
Because it's just kind of
sorry.
talking about. It's cool. It's just talking about different episodes
and
where it's made its
cube's
appearances.
importance. Starting going back to the 60s, which doesn't surprise me because there's nothing new under the sun. Obviously, the Saturn cube stuff has been around for hundreds of years, or maybe thousands. I don't know.
Here's another interesting one. So the previously powerless second cosmic cube finally gained an ability to alter reality in Captain America, but it was unstable and exploded at the end of that storyline. The second cube's power reappeared in a storyline in Captain America Volume 3 in July 1999, which is actually 666 upside down, during which its power was internalized within the Red Skull, of course, then stolen by Korvac and taken to an alternate 31st century Earth before being returned to Red Skull and present-day Earth, after which it was seemingly destroyed again by exposure to antimatter energy. Interesting.
Oh, antimatter.
Yeah,
okay.
This is interesting. Well, I'll have to look into this stuff more, but I think I'm going to have quite a bit to pull. Oh, wait, there's the Winter Soldier. That might be a worthwhile one here. 5 years later, the skull is in New York City and is in possession of it. General Lucan sent the Winter Soldier to retrieve the cube from the skull and to kill him. The skull transfers his mind into the body of Lucan through the powers of the cube. The Winter Soldier is a strange one. He gets modified and is like cyborg or something. I watched some clips on YouTube about it.
James Buchanan Bucky Barnes. Never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Dark Winter. Winter's coming.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to.
Totally. Gotta tell you this, by the way. This is so doesn't matter. But in 2019, before COVID came, so off topic, but it came to me at my head. Before COVID hit in 2019 on that show Project Runway, there was a character named COVID who came up with an outfit that had a mask. Isn't that weird?
Oh,
His name
well, it's weird
character
that you
named
mention
COVID.
that because Bucky in the movie, uh, he is wearing a mask.
Oh,
Until it
jeez.
gets knocked off by Captain America. He knocks it off him
A lot of
eventually.
them.
But
Remember what does Batman say? You wear the mask not for yourself, but for others, to protect others. He says that. He says that to like, who was he saying it to? Robin, or was he saying it to?
uh,
You wear the mask not for yourself, but to protect others. Jeez. Oh, the predictive programming is just rampant,
yeah,
rampant,
I mean
rampant.
it is. Once you start seeing it, it starts showing up everywhere. I'm gonna have to get into this. Hold on, let me share this with these folks. So the Flurkin cat is capable of swallowing this thing, and I really don't understand what makes this cat so special. But you know, there a lot of times cats are in Egyptian lore, for instance, they're supposed to be what protect this dimension from what's on the other side, whatever that implies. So they are essentially the protectors of the abyss, you know.
Okay.
I guess is the way I interpret it. Like what we can't see, they can see. So somehow this cat handles the Tesseract in the movie, and I want to try to pin down what makes this cat so special. But they call him Goose, which again, what is a Top Gun
Yeah.
where you find Goose?
Yep. He
So-
dies in a plane accident or whatever when he tries to use the escape hatch.
Oh, okay.
Sacrifice.
Interesting. And that's what happened to Nick's eye. So Nick has the cat. He like takes a liking to this cat, right? And then at some point the cat scratches him in the eye, and that's how he loses his eye.
Oh, okay.
Sorry if I did a spoiler.
Spoiler
but you
alert.
said the
Oh,
movie sucked anyway.
I forgot to. Well, we spoil. So if you're new to this
Yeah.
show, we do spoilers on any movie or that we ever talk about. It's going to happen. So
We might be the salt of the earth, but we like to spoil movies.
we will spoil your movies.
So yeah. Anyway, here's the Flurkin
That was a good
thing.
one, Salt of the Earth, but
Yeah,
yet we spoil movies. That was funny. I got it. I just picked that up.
Fury retrieves Goose, who is revealed to be an alien Flurkin, which, by the way, from what I've gathered from YouTube, this was it Guardians of the Galaxy that had Groot and the
I think so, yeah.
raccoon and all these other weird. I haven't seen that either. But apparently the cat makes an appearance in that, and the raccoon tries to kill the cat immediately.
Oh.
Because it knows that it's a Flurkin.
Oh.
And you know, she starts flipping out. She's like, "You're not gonna hurt my cat," you know. And he's like, "But it's an alien creature of great power and ferocity." You know, he's going into it all.
Uh-huh.
And apparently he was right. But anyway, so the interesting thing about this cat is what I found out is Miss Marvel has an encounter with what's known as the Scarlet Witch, and I'm not sure what her powers are exactly, but somehow she created an illusion, and while she was in this illusion world, she encounters this cat there, and then when she finally breaks the illusion somehow, the only thing to stay with her from that false reality was this cat, strangely, and so she just kept the cat, but she never knew that it had these weird origins or anything like that. So it's just really odd how the cat even makes it into the whole series in the first place. It's almost like it becomes her familiar, if you will.
Somebody else said that. Somebody said a familiar. Somebody said familiars. Who was that?
Yeah.
That was Sophia. She said it.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm not looking at the chat, but thank you. That's really cool. So Sophia does mean wisdom after all. Pretty smart. So Goose swallows the Tesseract and scratches Fury's face. So Goose must have scratched Fury's eye while he had the Tesseract inside of him. That's interesting. I didn't catch that the first time. Blinding his left eye.
Left
Now,
eye.
you know, and the left eye was the one in my dream that was lit up. It was the left eye. And so in Nick Fury's case, his is gone. Now, see, in the US version of Utopia, this is the one they take. They take the left eye. This is the UK version. So that's why it's on the opposite side. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. It almost
probably
makes me think that this was a mistake.
Oh.
Even though this
that's why
came
the
before
US
the other
version
one.
fixed it. They're like, oops, they did the
Yeah,
wrong eye. We'll
probably.
fix it. But there's something to the one eye for both eyes. I don't remember. I'm not the expert on the.
Well, the right eye is supposed to be the moon. In some cases, and the left eye would be the sun. Or alternatively, you'll see one being Ra and one being Horus.
Okay, because when they do the skull scraping, you usually see the left eye, black eye. I think it's almost always
can
the
you
left
explain
eye.
that to me real quick? Because I'm not familiar with that really.
That's the
Like, what's that mean?
transmutation. Transmutation. Skull
What?
scraping. It's the taking out of where they take your presence, your conscience, and they push it down into the sunken place, right? And they inhabit a spirit inside of you. And I can't remember why it causes the black eye. I knew at one point.
Oh my word.
But
Okay, so that's related to Vril, probably. Like they put a Vril parasite in their eye. That's probably what causes the
could be.
bruising.
It could be,
So
yeah, so
that
the way
makes
that it
room for
has
the
to enter.
host?
Yeah, so but the point is, yeah, now I'm saying the sunken place, but whatever room or area they
The
put that,
abyss.
yes, the abyss, right? So that they scrape out your conscience, your normal conscience or consciousness, whatever. They scrape that out, right? But it's still there somewhere in the abyss, like you said. That's why you'll see people like Wendy Williams, where she popped out like all weird when she was dressed up as Lady Liberty for Halloween in like 2018 or 17 or whenever that was, and she looks like
Oh.
she's fainting, but she's not fainting. She looks terrified, like something just popped out. And then she went back into treatment, or quote unquote, after that. And so,
Like Kanye.
yeah, just like that when they go back into treatment for whatever. But
Gotta go get fixed.
I think that sometimes the conscience can come up, be aware again, and it's terrified. It's absolutely terrified, and that's why she looks absolutely terrified and she falls down. I mean, it's just full on fear, and just a fear that we luckily can't imagine. Or there was a couple people that said they've undergone some of this programming. There was 2 people in the chat that said that they would probably understand
What?
that kind of fear. But anyway, this particular one must be about a particular spirit, like you said, like maybe the Vril, and that's why it goes through the eye, leaves bruising through the eye. But anyway, I'm not an expert on it.
How did you learn? Like, where tell me, like, where this information came from?
Okay.
How did you learn about this?
So I know a lot of you don't go and watch all my videos because that would be really massive.
There's a lot of them.
But when I first started on this trek, the Lord had me really researching a lot of stuff, and transmutation, transhumanism, black goo, all that stuff was one of my major areas of interest in AI technology and the third strand DNA, all that stuff. And I've made consecutive films. I guess you could say they were big productions that I edited and did a lot of work on consecutively, including like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, AI nanotechnology in the air, looking at things like I may not be a big comic book character person, but Venom was huge in some of my research. Venom, the character, and how that's all that all works. And so then I watched the movie Get Out, and I did a big thing on the Get Out and transhumanism. That's where the skull scraping stuff comes in, or transmutation, excuse me.
Okay.
And I did 2-part series on the movie Get Out, and then I did another one on the movie Us, which is the same guy of Key and Peele. Remember Key and Peele?
I remember you telling me about that.
So anyway, over the last few years, just doing research on some of these, and I didn't know which movies to pick. I mean, I just followed the Lord, and I'd pick different movies.
That's what I do.
Yeah, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I did a video on that, like Get Out, and I did 2 videos on it, and Us, and I did a 2-part series on that, much less popular than the Get Out series. But anyway, I put together like black goo playlist, and I've started with like the AI that from the sky, and I talked about chemtrails and nanoparticles, and I talked about the book Prey by what's his name? Oh my gosh, huge. He wrote Saoirse, get out of there. He wrote what am I? The dinosaurs. The dinosaurs on the island that they recreate. Why can't I think of the movie?
Oh, Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Michael Crichton. Anyway,
He also did the Andromeda Strain.
Yes, which is also would also fit into all of this nanotechnology and AI, and it all does. You eventually just get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I've got it all, and I think the Lord said, well, I know the Lord said, you've done it, you've researched it. You can't just go through every movie and do a breakdown of every movie. You see it, it's all there. And so now I don't do these productions anymore. Now I don't do this kind of deep dig stuff anymore. I'm supposed to do what we're doing, which is what we're doing right now, and then also the gold and silver stuff. So anyway, if I have done that kind of research and deep digging, y'all can go back and check out.
Oh, I'm going to. Yeah, I didn't realize it had all that in there.
I've done a lot of that.
That's overwhelming. So thanks. I mean, that's probably going to blow all this open, honestly, because I feel like there's just something I'm missing.
I'd love you to do so. If you go and you look at one of my videos called the Black Gold Ascension, it's called the Black Gold Ascension, and that movie asks you kindly, I do in that video, to please go back and watch a particular set of videos that I already made previously. But you can even go back and I made one on quantum computers. So that's why I understand when people talk about Cthulhu and the Lovecraftian creatures, and maybe they're going to come out of the sea. I'm like, well, Geordie Rhodes knows that because that's what he wanted with his D-Wave computers. So
they even talked about how they were summoning intelligences, didn't they?
Absolutely. And that he said he didn't know where the answers were coming from, and that these creatures, whatever they were, they don't actually care about us, and all these things. So anyway, if you want, look at the video, the Black Gold Ascension, but also Saturn Rising. But go back to, if you're willing to, go back to the beginning where I start with the AI that fell from the sky, and I've got a list of ones that just kind of follow, and then Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and even Get Out has something to do with it, but I didn't include it in my Black Goo because it really isn't related to the programmable matter that I talk about once we get to Black Gold Ascension, which really, it just clicked for me what's really going on, and part of that is because of people like Don Shimura. Part of that is, his name is going to escape me, but I just posted something from him today. He's the one that talked about the third strand DNA, and that he thought they would lay it with gold, but then it was my realization that Orm gold was way more conductive. And anyway, I don't want to get into it. I got Bible study in 15 minutes, but I could go on and on and on about this because this is the stuff I know and understand. And so when we look at this programmable DNA consideration of a vaccine, I know this isn't the market. The Spider Queen, that was a creepy one. Yeah, that was a good one though. But the programmable DNA that we're going to see is going to someday be a third strand DNA, I believe. And I believe we're going to see that we create in us what's called a superconductor. It's going to be laid down with Orm gold. It's going to give people superpowers. It's going to make people like superhuman, like like the Nephilim superheroes. It's going to cure cancer. It's going to cure every disease, and it's going and you will be able to float. But what's sad is people want that now on this earth. They want that eternal life. They want all the superpowers, and they want the floating and all that stuff that's going to come with it. And yet that's what our new bodies will be if we would just accept Christ and die to this world, and we will get that body. Dude. That's the body we're going to have.
They're trying to like counterfeit that then.
On Earth,
what it sounds
absolutely. Like. And it will. But what it will do.
That was just like out there.
What it will do for us, unfortunately, as the sheep and the cattle, it will glaze us over like in the movie Cowboys versus Aliens, where they looked up into this cloud thing and it just made them just stare at it, and they were completely immovable, like a superconductor, and it could do with them whatever they wanted. But for the elite or everybody else, it's going to give them that superpower. It's going to give them the eternal life. It's going to give them the ability to float through the sky and fly and do all these things. or whatever it is you want. And you can start adding the animals like the spiders and have the spider web stuff on your fingers. Like, all these things are predictive programming of what you could have, what they want to make you believe you could have. At first, it'll start with, oh, if it cures my children's cancer, then I want that. I want that vaccine. Because I sat with my mom one day, I looked at her and I said, what would make people beg for a vaccine? This was well before COVID even came. I said, what do you think would make people beg for a vaccine? And as we talked it out, my mom's a nurse and I was a PA, I was like, a cure for cancer. If you had a child that was a baby, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 10-year-old with cancer, and they could promise you a cure in a vaccine, it would be very hard to say no to. And these were things I had to learn and think about for my own life and my own family. Would I be willing to say no to these things? And here it is. If we are at that point, and I didn't want to be there so soon, but we are at that point where I have to say no. No matter what happens to us, I will have to say no to these things. And it will be really hard, you guys, because I have young children. And it's going to be hard even as a single person. It's going to be hard for people with parents that they don't want to die because they're ill or they're at risk or whatever. These are going to be hard decisions, and yet here we are. We're here, and it sucks. But I'm getting better at handling it, and my mood is a lot better. So to get to the point, the research is there. Please go back if you have the time to watch some of those high production videos I did. I put a lot of work and a lot of hours into them, but that came from the Lord Jesus Christ. That wasn't me. He gave me that skill, and he gave me that he gave me those dots to connect, and he gave me the skill to learn how to put it into a video and make it make sense.
Amen, man. A lot of that was clicking with me, the stuff you were saying. So yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch these. And right here, I went ahead and dipped into this real quick about the Nick Fury was able to remain active many decades after the war because he aged unnaturally slowly due to regular doses of an infinity formula, which that's
right. And
your unicorn blood.
Look at Revelation. Is it Revelation 9:6 too that says there will be men that will beg for death and death will flee from them? This is what I think could be part of that. It will be that people will regret that decision to have eternal life on earth. They'll realize what that really means. Or it could be as bad as that movie I can never remember the name of. But where you're uploaded to a cloud and you're in constant pain because they're utilizing your body for whatever they want to, but you're uploaded to a cloud. I don't know. It's just anyway.
Yeah, kind of like that X-Files episode where one of the lone gunmen got somehow digitally uploaded.
Yeah.
That happened to him too. Langley, I think it was his name.
X-Files was certainly ahead of its time as well. Lots of black goo, black gold, like lots of
yeah, there was
stuff in that show for sure. I mean, again, I could go back to all of these things and do discussions on them, but I don't feel like I need to. I feel like anyone could do it. I feel like we could all just sit around and watch it together, and that'd be fun. Like if we could watch X-Files together and we could point those things out. But I guess I'm done breaking it down because I feel like I understand it.
No, I get it. I mean, we all prophesy in part, like what you've done is going to help others build on what the facet that they cover. Then we won't see so darkly through the glass.
Praise the Lord. All right,
I got mosaic.
Yeah,
go ahead and
I got 10 minutes
stop.
to Bible study, but you just finished your sentence about the mosaic. I apologize.
Well, it's like stained glass, if you think of it that way. Like it all tells a story, each piece. But it said here, Nick is sometimes considered the anti-hero, which is kind of like Batman, right? Batman and Spider-Man would fall into that too.
Mm-hmm.
Venom is
for
more
sure.
like a villain, I guess. But
well, he isn't. He isn't.
Anyway.
He's interestingly enough, that creature is so evil, and he comes from an evil planet, and yet somehow he didn't fit in with his evil planet. And these creatures would normally take over a human host and kill it. But this character, I can't remember his name, when he accepts Venom, he has cancer. And when he accepts Venom,
Brock.
they make an agreement. He invites Venom to be able to inhabit his body and utilize it the way that they do. So it's completely a clear demonic possession, where he's invited in and accepted to do the works that he does, and then he becomes the thing that he is, and he cures his cancer. Come on.
Well, and what you were telling me about with this black gold ascension stuff, it almost sounds like what they would want to do is put everybody into the sunken place and then take their bodies over with.
Absolutely.
With,
That's exactly
possession.
That's exactly what
Dude,
they...
you're blowing my mind with all this stuff.
Because it's like I know it, but I don't have all the pieces that explain it. It's like intuitively, it's true.
I can't remember which one I made. It might have been Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I said Satan needs an army. Satan needs an army as big as he can get, Legion. And he'll take as many humans as he can, but he'll also create AI technology golems because, unfortunately, we have to accept that possession, and it's not working out that well.
Well, it works out when we're staring into a scrying mirror. Who's scrying now? Isn't that one of your other videos?
That's one of mine, yep.
I don't want to keep you, man, because I know you got to head off.
8 minutes to Bible study.
Like I always am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, but it's fun.
Drive?
Oh, 2 minutes. It's like a 2-minute drive. When it's warm, I ride my bike. But yeah, I do like talking about it, so it's fun for me. I don't mind all that. But yeah, I should probably go. And with that, though, I appreciate everybody's time and coming in and listening. I appreciate you taking the time on an extra day. And maybe one of these days, like after you've watched some of those videos, we can talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I just wanted to cover some of this stuff so I didn't have to cram so much on next Friday, and because we had a lunar eclipse tonight. So thanks again, everybody, for doing a special with us.
Yeah,
and thank you for your time.
I appreciate you. You have a good night. We'll see you Friday.
Meow, meow. See you later, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye con Dios.
The Spirit of God is moving upon His people, and He is raising up a generation that is prepared for power that will touch this world.
They lived amongst the ruins, they were the last human force. The remnant that refused to serve the robot Trojan horse. Forced to migrate underground, avoiding drones and scans. To navigate the darkness and give birth without implants. The time we knew was coming, the breaking of the seals. Unfolding right before our eyes, the Antichrist revealed. Technology advanced beyond the scope of human hands. Attached itself inside the soul of man and took command. But those who saw it coming were the fragment that remained. Avoiding the enslavement and the merging of all brains. They were forced below the surface in the darkness of the caves. Inside the belly of the beast to carry on the flame. Like relics from the past, they were progenitors of truth. No human leader but the word of God to show them through. But they counted themselves worthy to suffer for His name. A blessing to be living and rejoicing through the pain. They were born to be survivors, predestined for that time. Protected and preserved to be a witness to the blind. Like those who came before this, the Daniels and the Jonas, the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's were in the furnace. Like Noah in the flood, they were preserved inside the ark. A chosen few remained and were uniquely set apart. The world turned all against them, yet their mission still remained. They lived each day alive, and Christ knew to die was gain.
They have been in the wilderness, they have been in the caves, they have been in obscurity, they have been behind the scenes. No one has known their names, no one even recognized them, but they have been recognized by heaven because they have been seeking the face of the Father and calling on God behind the scenes. Heaven knows their name and hell knows their name.
Now it's all a distant memory before the singularity. Long before technology invaded our biology. Like history repeating, it was written to unfold. These mysteries all leading to the oldest story told. They built upon the tower until Babylon gave birth, attempting to be gods by making flesh and iron merge. Although we saw it coming, we didn't know it was so near. Some tried to look away, to ignore their deepest fears. But with each passing moment, it enveloped every mind. Through comfort and convenience and expanding human lives. Expanding information too explosive to contain. Beyond the scope and understanding of our tiny brains. It soon became the norm to transform the human form. The brewing of a coming storm we've never seen before. The day we started customizing children by design. And modifying DNA to make ourselves divine. First the powerful elitists all begin to get implants. The rich and famous followed suit to be the most advanced. They thought themselves enlightened, so much wiser and evolved. Most didn't know the root of all this evil was involved. Uploaded all their minds inside an AI quantum hive. Made in the image of a man, the beast now come alive. They relinquished all control and put their trust in the machine. And extinguished any chance that souls could ever be redeemed.
And God is bringing them out to the forefront in this time to change the course of history and change a generation and bring a revolution of revival. So one day, this last generation will step right into heaven.